Welcome back to another explainer. Today, we're diving into a series of severe vulnerabilities recently discovered in VMware's infrastructure. Now, we hear about software bugs all the time, right? But what's fascinating and honestly a bit terrifying about these specific flaws is how they map out the modern attacker's playbook perfectly. We're going to look at exactly how threat actors, potentially even nation-states, can chain tiny, seemingly insignificant cracks in a system into complete, catastrophic takeovers of enterprise networks. Okay, let's take a quick look at our roadmap. We're going to start with the Hypervisor Foundation, then move into reconnaissance bugs, escalation and injection, the lateral threat, worst-case scenarios, and finally wrap up with hardening defenses. Let's get right to it. All right, part 1, the Hypervisor Foundation, the building blocks of cloud virtualization. To really wrap our heads around how severe these modern vulnerabilities are, we first need to establish what's actually managing all of this cloud data. It all comes down to the hypervisor. Think of the hypervisor like the foundation and really the property manager of a massive high-security apartment building. It's the software that allocates resources, power, water, space, to the tenants. And in our digital world, those tenants are your virtual machines, or VMs. The hypervisor's absolute most important job? Keeping those VMs strongly isolated so a fire in one apartment doesn't burn down the neighbors. As you can see, the hypervisor sits right smack in the middle, wedged firmly between the physical hardware at the bottom and the guest VMs at the top. And this positioning is exactly why malicious actors are so obsessed with it. I mean, they don't just want to break into a single tenant's apartment. They want to bypass the tenants entirely and compromise the property manager directly. Because, let's face it, if you control the hypervisor, you control the whole shebang above it. Moving on to part 2, reconnaissance bugs or peeking at the directory. So how does an attack actually start? Well, it kicks off with a pair of vulnerabilities, CVE 2025-41251 and 41252, found in VMware NSX. Basically, these are authentication weaknesses that let totally unauthenticated attackers perform reconnaissance. Going back to our apartment analogy, it's literally like a burglar walking right up to the building and just staring at the digital directory. They can't actually get inside yet, but they can query the system to confirm exactly which usernames exist. And once they've enumerated those valid usernames, boom, they have a highly targeted list ready for brute force attacks or testing out weak, reused passwords. Now, you might be thinking, well, a simple username enumeration bug isn't a massive deal, right? It doesn't even give the attacker direct code execution. But as security expert Jason Sirocco points out here, this explains exactly why an intelligence agency like the NSA would flag these seemingly minor bugs. It's because nation-states use them as absolutely essential building blocks. They find the users, compromise a weak password, and then pivot deeper into the system. It's all about getting that initial foot in the door. Which brings us to part 3, escalation and injection. Forging the master key. Okay, so once an attacker finds that valid username and gets a foothold, they definitely do not stop there. They immediately start hunting for the next crack in the armor. In this case, it's an SMTP header injection vulnerability. And take a look at this. It carries a critical CVSS base score of 8.5 out of 10. And 8.5 is no joke. That means business, and it demands immediate attention from any IT team. So what makes this 8.5 severity bug so dangerous? Well, it allows attackers who only have non-administrative privileges, meaning they're just sitting there with a standard low-level account, to modify email notifications tied to scheduled tasks. On a technical level, they're exploiting the bug to inject malicious commands straight into the invisible routing headers of system emails. In our apartment building, it's exactly like a low-level tenant forging the hidden routing instructions on a letter from the property manager. They use that forged communication to trick someone else inside the building into handing over a master key. Just like that, they've escalated their privileges to a full administrative level. This quote right here from Maya Rishtani perfectly captures what we can call the ultimate breach blueprint. You see, attackers almost never rely on just one bug anymore. They chain them together. It's a combo move. They use the unauthenticated NSX reconnaissance bug we just talked about to find a user. They guess the password to get that low-level foothold. Then they immediately fire off the vCenter SMTP bug to escalate those privileges. And suddenly, they own the network. Next up, part 4, the lateral threat, sneaking through the vents. All right, so once those privileges are escalated, the attacker has achieved their initial goal. But they are certainly not going to just sit quietly. We enter a phase known as lateral movement. This is the process where an attacker uses their shiny new administrative entry point to move horizontally across the server infrastructure. Think of lateral movement as our burglar sneaking from one apartment to another through the shared air vents. They completely bypass the locked front doors. And the scary part? They can do this silently for months, creeping from workload to workload until they find your most valuable corporate data for theft or worse, ransomware. This leads us to part 5, worst case scenarios, basically system catastrophes. If that lateral movement goes unchecked, attackers can eventually target the virtualization foundation itself. And unlike the management layer bugs we covered earlier, these endgame strategies strike the core data plane directly. They generally fall into 2 devastating categories. First up is a VM escape. This happens when an attacker injects a malicious program that blatantly violates those strong isolation limits we discussed. It's literally like breaking out of the apartment entirely to physically take over the property manager's office. The second scenario, which is arguably even more terrifying, is hyperjacking. This is where the hacker takes malicious control of the hypervisor itself. It's the equivalent of ripping out the building's foundation to secretly install a completely rogue property manager. Now, research identifies 3 distinct flavors of hyperjacking. You can inject a rogue hypervisor underneath the original, you can take full control of the existing one, or you can run a rogue one on top of the original. Here's why this is such a nightmare, because these hyperjacking attacks run beneath the virtual machines, targeting the operating system below. Their existence is completely obvious to the underlying physical hardware, but they are totally, 100% invisible to the applications and security tools running inside your VMs. Finally, part 6, hardening defenses, securing the foundation. So the big question, how do we actually stop this? Well, Broadcom has explicitly stated there are 0 workarounds for that severe 8.5 vCenter SMTP bug. None. So first and foremost, you absolutely must apply the fixed patches immediately. But patching alone isn't enough. You need true defense in depth. Implement least privileged access, so a compromised account has a very limited blast radius. Deploy microsegmentation, which basically acts like heavy, locked security doors in the hallways to stop that lateral movement dead in its tracks. And lastly, enforce centralized authentication, like Active Directory or SSO. By taking built-in authentication out of the equation and centrally monitoring access, you drastically reduce the risk of someone escalating their privileges in the first place. Understanding how attackers chain these tiny VMware vulnerabilities into massive breaches is the critical first step in stopping them. So I want to leave you with this thought today. If a nation-state attacker scanned your virtual apartment building right now, would they find a wide-open directory, or would they hit a fortified foundation? Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and stay secure out there.